story opens with Orhan standing inside an abandoned tunnel, alert and on edge. His instincts flare as several demon rats suddenly rush toward him. He reacts without hesitation, cutting them down with clean, practiced sword strikes. As their bodies hit the ground, Orhan pauses. His movements felt smoother than he expected. He is not as out of shape as he feared. That realization sparks a quiet sense of hope. Maybe he still has a chance to become a real swordsman after all. Soon after, a group of goblins appears further down the tunnel. This time, Orhan decides not to rely on his blade alone. He activates his support magic. The spell reinforces his body as a dark green aura wraps around him. Support magic enhances physical strength and equipment, and unlike many spells, it can be used on the caster as well as allies. With his power boosted, Orhan cuts through the goblins effortlessly. Support magic is essential in difficult battles, but Orhan knows its biggest flaw: it does not last forever. The duration depends on the caster's magic resistance, and for Orhan, it lasts only about 3 minutes. Because of this, he constantly tracks time in his head. If the spell fades during a fight, the situation could turn deadly in seconds. Recasting at the right moment, Orhan finishes off the final goblins with steady, controlled movements. As he continues deeper into the tunnel, his thoughts drift back to the moment everything changed. Despite his refined swordplay and careful use of support magic, the party's leader, Oliver, suddenly told Orhan he was being removed from the group. The words hit like a physical blow. Orhan stood there in disbelief, convinced it had to be a cruel joke. After all, he and Oliver had been close friends since childhood. Oliver spoke calmly, admitting that their long friendship was the very reason Orhan had been given more chances than anyone else. Even so, no matter how much time passed, Orhan never showed the improvement they needed. In Oliver's eyes, he simply could not keep up with the rest of the party anymore. Annalie and Derek quickly stepped in, telling Oliver to stop softening the truth. They bluntly stated that Orhan was being removed because he was not strong enough. Orhan felt frozen as the words sank in. This was the party he had helped build with Oliver 8 years ago. Together, they rose at an unbelievable pace, becoming the first group to reach the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon. That achievement earned them fame and the title of the Heroes Party. Oliver continued, saying that Orhan's support magic was not useless. However, during their most recent raid, they witnessed the overwhelming power of enchanters from other parties. The difference was impossible to ignore. Compared to them, Orhan's magic clearly fell short. Orhan pushed back, reminding them that he was a swordsman first and was never meant to specialize in support magic. At that, Dennis snapped and accused him of lying, claiming Orhan only switched roles because Oliver was always the better swordsman. Orhan denied it immediately. He explained that the party desperately needed an enchanter, and since he had the most aptitude, he took on the role himself. He even created his own magic to cover his weaknesses. That innovation, he argued, was the reason they survived on the deepest dungeon floors. Oliver cut him off and said there was no point continuing the argument. They had already found a replacement. The realization hit Orhan hard. He asked if this was really how they planned to treat him after everything they had been through together. Even as he spoke, he knew it was over. Accepting there was nothing left to say, Orhan turned and walked away, holding on to what little pride he had left. As he left, Annalie called out, calling him a jack of all trades, someone who could do many things but never truly excel at any of them. The words followed him down the tunnel. Even so, Orhan refused to accept them. He believed his adaptability would allow him to master both the sword and enchantment, and when he did, no one would ever dare call him a jack of all trades again. Shaking off the memory, Orhan decides to head home. Suddenly, a group of adventurers bursts out of the dungeon entrance, panicked and out of breath. Orhan ignores them at first and keeps walking. That changes when he overhears them talking about being ambushed by a horde of orcs and abandoning the new girl who joined their party earlier that day. Orhan stops. He knows he should not get involved, but he cannot ignore it. He clenches his fist, remembering all too well how it feels to be abandoned by your own party. The adventurers try to justify their decision, insisting they had no choice. Orhan speaks up, telling them that people like them disgust him. Their leader argues back, saying staying would not have changed anything, then suddenly throws a punch. Orhan blocks it easily and counters, slamming the man to the ground. He demands to know where they left the girl. Inside the dungeon, the girl is pressed against a wall as orcs slowly close in. She raises a barrier to hold them back, but repeated strikes eventually shatter it. With nowhere left to run and no options remaining, she quietly accepts her fate. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind fills the chamber, and Orhan appears in front of her. Without hesitation, he activates his support magic and charges into the orcs, cutting several down. The girl watches in disbelief as he fights using both swordsmanship and enchantment, unable to tell whether he is a swordsman or an enchanter. Orhan continues cutting through the orcs, leaving her stunned by his fluid and unfamiliar fighting style. He quickly understands why a low-ranking party would flee. There are far more enemies than expected. Even so, he remains confident. With his enchanted blade, he wipes out the remaining orcs in a single decisive sweep. When the battle ends, he asks if she is okay. Overwhelmed by how close she came to death, the girl collapses and begins to cry. A short while later, they exit through a nearby cave. Outside, Orhan says goodbye and turns to leave. The girl stops him and insists on thanking him properly. She introduces herself as Sophia and offers to treat him to dinner. Orhan initially refuses, saying he did not save her for gratitude. Sophia responds with pleading eyes, and Orhan reluctantly agrees. Before they leave, Orhan notices the crest on her cloak. It feels familiar, though he cannot remember where he has seen it before. That night, they arrive at a modest restaurant Sophia says is her favorite. It is not expensive, but the food is good. When Orhan sees the logo outside, his memory clicks. It belongs to the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the largest guilds in the kingdom of Nohitan. Inside, Sophia unexpectedly runs into her sister, Selma. When Sophia asks what she is doing there, Selma casually replies that she had a meeting nearby and decided to grab something to eat. Spotting Orhan, Selma immediately scolds Sophia, saying it is far too early for her to have a boyfriend. To Sophia's surprise, Orhan and Selma already know each other. Selma is a member of the Silver Rabbits S-Rank party and the strongest enchanter on the continent. She popularized enchanters and established the modern party roles of attackers, defenders, and supporters, changing how adventurers prepare for dungeons. That same influence is what led Orhan to become an enchanter for his former party. It was also after witnessing Selma's overwhelming enchantment during a raid last month that Oliver and the others decided to cast Orhan aside. Selma glares at Orhan and accuses him of trying to get close to her 14-year-old sister. Orhan quickly explains that he only agreed to dinner and had no improper intentions. Selma twists his words as an insult towards Sophia. Sophia steps in and tells Selma to stop yelling at the man who saved her life. Selma freezes as the meaning sinks in. That can only mean one thing. Sophia entered the dungeon alone. Sophia apologizes, clearly feeling guilty. Seeing that her sister is unharmed, Selma decides not to scold her further. She thanks Orhan for saving Sophia's life and apologizes for her earlier behavior. The three of them sit down to eat and talk. Sophia does not understand how Orhan and Selma know each other, so Orhan explains that they met during the raid last month. At the time, both were enchanters assigned to the same unit. Since Selma ranked higher, she was in charge, and Orhan supported her throughout the mission. Selma is surprised that Sophia does not recognize Orhan and reveals that he was a member of the famous Heroes Party. Sophia gasps and immediately begins treating Orhan more formally. Orhan clarifies that he is no longer with the Heroes Party and that they went their separate ways. Selma is shocked they would let go of someone so capable. She asks if Orhan is free now. Assuming she intends to recruit him, Orhan immediately refuses, saying he has no intention of joining another party. Selma corrects him and explains she wants him to act as a tutor on a training expedition starting the next day. She explains that the expedition will descend 50 floors into the southern Great Dungeon over 3 days. Orhan is stunned. Even elite adventurers usually take months to reach that depth. Selma admits it will be dangerous but says it is possible if they take the shortest route. Their sponsors are heavily pushing for it. Orhan quickly understands the real reason. If recruits who cannot defeat floor bosses are allowed to descend deeper, the entire clan will grow stronger. Selma explains that a floor boss appears every 10 floors and must be defeated to proceed. If a tutor defeats the boss, The recruits only need to register at the crystal and move on. Because of this, the clan needs as many strong tutors as possible. Selma takes Orhan's hands and tells him she truly respects him, which is why she wants him on the mission. Orhan pulls away, unwilling to relive the pain of being compared to her superior enchantment. He says he already has plans. Sophia pleads with him once again. After a moment, Orhan agrees, but only on one condition. He has switched to being a swordsman. If he joins them, it will be as a swordsman, not an enchanter. Selma is surprised, but accepts the condition, assuming he can return to enchantment if needed. She tells him to report to Silver Rabbit headquarters the next morning. Later that night, Orhan visits his favorite shop. The owner thanks him for supporting the store since becoming a famous adventurer. Orhan admits he is no longer part of the heroes party. Even so, the old man thanks him for everything and says he believes Orhan will receive many more thanks in the future. He adds that leaving the heroes party may be a blessing and encourages Orhan to follow his heart, promising his support no matter what. Moved to tears, Orhan bows his head and sincerely thanks him. The following day, Orhan meets Selma at the guild gate, having agreed to her request. Selma remarks that he looks far livelier than he did the day before and asks if he feels relieved to be out of the heroes party. Orhan smiles and replies that it is something like that. The next day, Orhan and Selma go to meet the leader of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, a man named Vince Briars. Vince has already heard many stories about Orhan and his abilities, so he is confident that Orhan will be a very valuable asset to their group. Orhan respectfully tells Vince that it is an honor to meet the leader of such a famous clan. However, before agreeing to anything, Orhan asks to hear more details about the teaching expedition they are about to take part in. Vince nods and tells Selma to explain everything. As the three of them sit down together and Selma begins the briefing, the scene shifts to a moment in the past. Selma had recently learned that Orhan left the hero party, so she immediately went to report this to Vince. When Vince heard the news, he was certain that the hero party would no longer be as strong without him. Selma agreed, explaining that Orhan's support magic pushed that party to a level they honestly did not deserve to reach. She admits that while Orhan's magic effects are weaker than average, his casting speed is unbelievably fast, at least 4 times faster than her own. On top of that, his ability to read the situation and provide the right magical support at the exact moment it is needed is what makes him the perfect enchanter. The scene returns to the present meeting. By now, Orhan understands the main idea of the operation. There will be 10 rookie parties and 5 escort members, with Orhan and Selma included among the escorts. The rookie teams will take turns fighting monsters inside the dungeon, rotating between battles. If anything unexpected happens, the escorts will immediately step in. Orhan understands the plan, but one thing bothers him. He points out that having only 5 escorts is risky, and that having more would greatly reduce the risk of accidents. Selma responds by explaining that the goal is to take the rookies to level 51. She claims that if there were too many escorts, the dungeon would not be challenging enough, and the rookies would grow too comfortable. Orhan can tell this explanation isn't completely honest, and he suspects there is another reason for limiting the staff, but he decides not to push the issue. He agrees to the mission and the payment, 2 gold coins in advance and 10 more upon successful completion. The following day, Orhan arrives at the entrance of the dungeon where the students are already gathered. He runs into Selma and Sophia and notices that Sophia is wearing a new outfit. He casually compliments her on it, causing her to turn bright red. Selma is left completely speechless by the reaction. Shortly after, Selma notices that many of the students seem nervous and discouraged, so she asks Orhan if he can help lighten the mood before they begin. Sophia leaves to rejoin her party while Selma introduces Orhan to the rest of the escort team, Anthem and Bernard, who are defenders, and Kathy, the healer. Orhan realizes they form a well-balanced group, yet he still feels a strange sense of unease. His instincts tell him that something about this mission feels wrong, but he cannot figure out what it is. To calm the students, Selma announces to the crowd that they are being escorted by Orhan, a man who has reached floor 94 and was once a member of the hero party. Hearing this, the students' nervousness turns into excitement and confidence. Orhan later asks Selma if it was really necessary to hype him up like that, and she explains that keeping the students focused and confident is part of their responsibility. Orhan realizes she has a point and lets it go. Orhan is assigned to escort Group 10, which is Sophia's group. He notices there are only 3 of them instead of the usual 4. They inform him that they are a permanent 3-person party, which makes Orhan uneasy since fewer members often means higher risk. The group leader, Logan, confidently introduces himself and declares that he is a great enchanter who will one day surpass Selma. Orhan finds his attitude a bit much, but hopes his skills can back up his words. Next, Caroline introduces herself as the Defender. Orhan notices she isn't wearing any armor, and she explains that her fighting style focuses on dodging rather than blocking, so shields would only slow her down. Finally, Sophia gives a polite introduction, which helps Orhan relax a bit. As the group begins their journey into the dungeon, the silence of the caves gives Orhan some peace. Caroline asks him several questions about why he left the hero party, but he coldly tells her it is none of her business. Suddenly, 2 demon wolves attack from behind. Orhan doesn't even lift a finger because the trap spells he set earlier activate and kill them instantly. He believes this is the most efficient way to deal with threats without slowing the group down. By the time they reach floor 20, Orhan has observed the group in action. He realizes that Logan actually has real talent, though he is still bad at giving clear orders during battle. Caroline has incredible speed, but she rushes in without thinking and her daggers lack destructive power. Sophia is passive and holds back, but she doesn't make any serious beginner mistakes, which makes Orhan interested in her future growth. After the escorts defeat the floor 20 boss, the students register their progress and finish for the day. The next morning, Orhan reads a newspaper announcing that the hero party has already found a new enchanter. He is frustrated that the news of his removal is now public, as he worries the students might change how they see him. On his way to the dungeon, he is stopped by his former teammate, Luna. She desperately asks him to come back and reminds him of the promise they made as children to clear the dungeon together. Hearing those words causes something inside Orhan to snap. He pulls his hands away and turns his back on her. As he walks off, he accepts that while they once shared a dream, everything has changed. Some dreams are better left in the past. Orhan makes his way toward the dungeon entrance, his thoughts weighing heavy on him. He can't stop thinking about how he was kicked out of the heroes party. The worst part is that it wasn't just rumors anymore. Today's newspaper spelled it out clearly for everyone to see. That means all the new recruits already know, and most of them are probably unsure what to think of him now. Selma had hyped him up as a former member of the heroes party, and now that image has completely shattered. When Orhan arrives, all the rookies are already gathered at the entrance. The mood feels off right away. The energy is stiff and uncomfortable. It's obvious everyone has read the paper. The recruits whisper among themselves, openly talking about how Orhan isn't part of the heroes party anymore. Logan can't help thinking that things would feel different if Orhan had left on his own terms. But the article didn't say that. It said Orhan was kicked out for being too weak, and that changes everything. Orhan tries to greet the group, but the response he gets is awkward and uneven. Some reply politely, others avoid eye contact. It hits him fast that he's no longer welcomed the same way he was yesterday, all because of a few printed headlines. Right then, Selma arrives with Ant, Bern, and Kathy. She immediately apologizes to Orhan, admitting she may have caused some confusion by leaning too hard on his heroes party background to reassure the rookies. Orhan shuts that down right away, telling her none of this is her fault. He encourages Selma to lead with confidence and focus on guiding the group, while he supports from behind. Ant, Bern, and Kathy back him up, saying that whatever happened between Orhan and the heroes party doesn't matter. What matters is that Orhan is one of the few people alive who reached the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon and survived. Hearing that takes some pressure off Orhan's shoulders. He heads back to his assigned party, where Sophia and Carol greet him cheerfully. Logan, on the other hand, looks uncertain, clearly unsure how he's supposed to act around Orhan now. Sensing the tension, Orhan decides to address it head-on and asks if they all saw the newspaper. Sophia and Carol say they did, but they don't believe a word of it. Logan, however, asks Orhan straight up if the article was telling the truth. Orhan answers honestly. The paper wasn't lying. He really was kicked out of the heroes party for being too weak. He apologizes for not saying anything earlier and admits that he understands if they feel disappointed. He even says he knows he's not the hero everyone expected him to be. Sophia snaps back immediately, saying that's not true. She reminds everyone that she personally saw Orhan take down an entire horde of orcs by himself without even breaking a sweat. Orhan thanks her and tells the group that even though he's no longer part of the heroes party, he's still more than capable of helping them reach the 51st floor safely. He asks them to trust him. Sophia and Carol seem satisfied with that answer, but Logan still looks uneasy, feeling like something was kept from him. The expedition finally begins. Today's goal is to descend from the 21st floor to the 35th floor. Orhan is instructed not to interfere directly, only stepping in if things start to spiral out of control. The early floors go smoothly. On the 24th floor, Carol handles the monsters effortlessly with her twin daggers and aggressive fighting style. By the time they reach the 30th floor, Sophia takes down several large monsters on her own, surprising even Orhan and making him realize he may have underestimated her. When they reach the 31st floor, everything changes. These are the middle floors, unfamiliar territory for the rookies. From here on out, proper guidance is critical. Orhan moves ahead of the group, carefully scanning the area. He senses a pack of goblins nearby and warns the party. He also notices a stray orc wandering close enough to interfere, which could complicate things. Still, he trusts the rookie's skills and doesn't panic. Orhan orders Carol to handle the goblins and tells Sophia to deal with the orc using ranged magic. Both follow his instructions without hesitation. Carol dives straight into the goblins, while Sophia prepares her spells. Orhan then turns to Logan and asks him to use support magic. Before Orhan can even finish speaking, Logan has already activated multiple magic circles and starts casting agility buffs on Carol. Even while following orders, Logan isn't convinced. The strategy feels obvious to him, and he believes anyone could have called those shots. Then things take a turn. The orc triggers Sophia's trauma, and she freezes mid-fight. Logan is too focused on maintaining his buffs to react. He looks to Orhan, wondering why he isn't stepping in. That's when Orhan calmly forms a magic sign and casts a spell that drastically slows the orc. He moves beside Sophia and speaks to her calmly, telling her to breathe and reminding her that she's stronger than the enemy in front of her. Regaining control, Sophia unleashes a massive fireball that completely obliterates the orc. Everyone freezes in shock, including Orhan, who had no idea she could use magic at that level. Carol immediately runs over and hugs Sophia. Orhan praises her for the clean shot. Soon after, they reach the 35th floor, where a death tarantula appears. Logan panics, convinced they're finished. Sophia and Carol, however, trust Orhan completely and wait for his instructions. Orhan orders Logan to boost Carol's strength and agility and enhance Sophia's magic. Logan doubts the plan, but follows through. Orhan tells Carol to engage the monster directly and keep its attention on her. She charges in immediately. Logan tries to stop her, but Orhan explains that interference would only put them at a disadvantage. Orhan then tells Sophia to leap onto the monster and shred its back. She understands instantly, jumping onto its body and slashing it from head to tail while dodging its venomous attacks. The tarantula focuses on Carol, striking again and again, but she dodges and deflects the blows. Orhan reminds Logan to keep the buffs active, warning him that Carol's life depends on it. Next, Orhan tells Sophia to pin the monster. She uses her arrow cutter skill to sever its legs, forcing it to crash to the ground. Carol starts celebrating, but Orhan warns her that the fight isn't over. The warning comes too late. The tarantula fires its web, trapping Carol and dragging her toward it. Panicking, she cries out for help. Orhan immediately orders Logan to boost Carol's strength and speed. Logan complies without hesitation. Orhan then enhances Carol's blades with a sharpness spell, giving her the power to break free. Sophia follows up with a rock arrow, completely destroying the monster in a single blast. With the threat gone, the day's expedition comes to an end. Orhan praises Logan for his support magic, admitting they couldn't have won without him. As they exit the dungeon, the sun begins to set. Selma congratulates the rookies on their progress and reminds them to rest well, since the final stage of the expedition awaits tomorrow. As everyone parts ways, Ant and Burn stop Orhan and invite him out for food. After a brief pause, Orhan accepts. On the way back to the city, Logan asks Sophia about the first time Orhan saved her. She recalls him using wind magic, enhancing his sword, and cutting through the orcs with ease. Logan thinks back on everything he witnessed. Orhan casually used debuff magic to slow the orc, something even top-tier mages like Selma struggle to do. He timed buffs perfectly, predicted enemy movements, and controlled the entire battlefield. That's when it clicks. Logan realizes he was completely wrong about Orhan. He isn't an average mage, he's a genius. Back in the city, Orhan joins Ant and Byrne at a tavern. They tell him to order whatever he wants. Curious, they ask about his role. He used to be an enchanter, yet now he fights like a swordsman. Orhan explains that he always wanted to be a swordsman, inspired by watching his grandfather slay a massive beast when he was young. He explains that as the hero's party descended deeper, they adopted Selma's enchanter-centered strategy. Since no one else had the right aptitude, Orhan gave up his role as a swordsman for the sake of the party. Thinking back, he believes the hero's party has no chance of clearing deeper floors without him, but he pushes the thought aside. Orhan tells them that his new goal is to become a fully self-sufficient swordsman who can conquer even the deepest dungeon floors alone. What he doesn't know is that the very next day, the hero's party will cross paths with him again in the dungeon he plans to conquer. The next morning, Orhan heads toward the cave, fully aware that this will be his final day leading the younger party. As he approaches the entrance, he spots Sophia and the others waiting for him. They greet him warmly, and Orhan immediately senses something different. The group's confidence in him has grown, and even Logan, once distant, now looks at him with trust. Carol suddenly breaks the moment, announcing that since today is their last day together, Sophia has something she wants to say. She nudges Sophia repeatedly, urging her forward, but Sophia freezes, clearly too nervous to speak. The reason becomes clear. The night before, while bathing, Sophia admitted to Carol that she wanted Orhan to stay with the Night Silver Rabbits and help guide them to the top. But before she can confess this herself, Selma calls Orhan away. He reassures Sophia that they'll talk later and walks off, leaving her words unspoken. As Orhan heads toward the other guides, he overhears rookies discussing the hero's party. Apparently, they're entering the dungeon today as well, planning a trial run with their new member to test how well the team works together. Curious, Orhan wonders which floor they're attempting. The answer catches him off guard. They're starting from the 92nd floor, not the deepest level, the 94th. The decision shocks him. Starting that high with a brand new member is dangerous. In Orhan's mind, they should be rebuilding synergy on lower floors first. Still, he forces himself to stop thinking about them. Worrying about the hero's party won't help him now. He has his own path to walk. On the 92nd floor, Oliver rallies his team, confidently claiming they won't have any trouble clearing the dungeon, though they still need to stay alert. He turns to their newest member, Philly, a green-haired enchanter, and invites her to show what she can do. The tank echoes his confidence, while the mage smugly adds that Philly isn't some useless jack-of-all-trades like Orhan, so everything should go smoothly. Oliver then glances toward Luna. She's silent, visibly tense, and clearly unhappy. She never wanted Orhan gone. Oliver, however, believes that after today's run, even Luna will admit that removing Orhan was the right call. What Luna doesn't know is that she was never part of the plan to expel Orhan. She only discovered it the night before, during the celebration Oliver threw to welcome Philly into the party. During that party, Anne and Derek openly mocked Orhan, saying that with a real enchanter on the team, they'd reach the 100th floor in no time. Anne even bragged about how much money the party had, complaining that Orhan was too careful and never let them spend freely. That conversation made Philly uncomfortable. She asked if party funds weren't meant strictly for party needs. Anne waved it off, saying, "Money is useless if you don't enjoy it." Oliver shut the discussion down, declaring Orhan irrelevant and telling everyone to move on. Just as the group raises their glasses to celebrate Philly's arrival, Luna bursts into the room, breathless, demanding to speak with Oliver. She immediately notices Philly, someone she's never seen before, and asks if they can talk privately. Oliver refuses, insisting they speak openly in front of everyone. With no choice, Luna blurts out what she heard. Orhan is going on a raid with the Night Silver Rabbits. She demands to know how that's even possible. Derek and Anne react with disbelief. Anne scoffs, asking how Orhan could join another party in just 3 days after being told how weak he was. Derek claims Orhan must still be waving around his S-rank badge, the one he earned thanks to them. Confused and angry, Luna asks what they're talking about. Oliver tells her to calm down. Before he can explain, Anne cuts in, bluntly stating that Orhan left the party 3 days ago. The words hit Luna like a blow. She wonders aloud if Orhan finally gave up on them. Derek immediately corrects her. Orhan didn't leave. They kicked him out. Luna turns to Oliver in shock, demanding confirmation. Oliver calmly admits it's true and tries to introduce Philly as the new enchanter. Luna shuts him down instantly, declaring that she made it clear she would oppose anyone replacing Orhan. Derek explodes, yelling at her to shut up while the new member is trying to speak. Oliver steps in to calm him and explains that Orhan simply wasn't strong enough anymore. Luna refuses to accept that. She insists Orhan was the core of the party, the reason they survived and progressed. Without him, she says, they won't make it any further. Anne mocks her, saying she's the only one who ever thought Orhan was special, and that it doesn't matter now. The decision is final. Oliver redirects the conversation to their next objective. Since this is their first dungeon run with Philly, they'll start on the 92nd floor and slowly work back up to the 94th. Luna immediately rejects the plan, saying she has no intention of dying today. Derek laughs, reminding her they've already reached the 94th floor before. Luna pushes back, arguing that even with a skilled enchanter, they should start lower. Derek counters that they already cleared the 93rd floor, so stepping back makes no sense. Luna snaps that the 92nd floor houses the Black Dragon, and they barely survived it last time. Anne laughs it off, claiming that was only because they had a weak enchanter back then. Oliver insists they're just testing teamwork and won't necessarily fight the dragon. Luna tries one last time to object, but Oliver cuts her off. The plan is set. Back in the dungeon, the heroes' party confronts the mammoth boss of the 92nd floor. Last time it was easy. This time, it's not. Oliver charges in and strikes, but the mammoth blocks and forces him into cover as Derek prepares to counter. Behind cover, Oliver feels his buffs fade and his body grow heavy. Something is wrong. He questions Philly, who admits she's still adjusting to their combat rhythm. That answer rattles him. Orhan figured out their entire flow within hours. The mammoth fires an energy blast at Derek. He tries to block but slips, redirecting the attack toward Anne. She screams at him in frustration. Even Derek doesn't understand why his defense failed. Anne retaliates with fire magic, but the attack barely affects the monster. Oliver orders her to focus, but Anne insists she's fighting normally. Her spells just feel weaker. Oliver tells Philly to boost Anne again. She does, yet the next blast still leaves no damage. The mammoth counters, nearly killing Anne before she barely escapes behind a rock. Oliver is stunned. Philly's enchantments should be stronger than Orhan's, so why are they losing? Another blast snaps him back as he barely dodges while Derek blocks the next hit. Oliver orders Anne to flank the beast, but she's quickly repelled. He demands that Philly warn them of incoming attacks. She says she can't manage that on top of everything else. Oliver snaps that battlefield awareness is part of an enchanter's job. Anne lashes out, calling Philly useless and blaming Oliver for bringing her along. That's when it hits him. None of them are fighting at full strength. Even his sword feels wrong. Something crucial is missing. Before they can recover, the ground trembles. The black dragon emerges from the depths. Luna panics and screams for everyone to retreat. The dragon lands and crushes the mammoth effortlessly. Oliver freezes. This shouldn't be happening. Still, he refuses to flee, insisting they've beaten the dragon once before. Derek braces to block the dragon's fireball, but he's instantly overwhelmed and blasted away. Anne tries to counterattack and is knocked unconscious despite taking cover. Luna begs Oliver to run, but instead he orders Philly to buff him and charges a powerful attack straight into the dragon's flames. He barely survives and collapses to one knee, disoriented. Luna drags him back and demands they use an emergency teleport crystal. Philly warns it will send them into a lower-ranked boss room. Luna doesn't care. It's their only chance. Oliver agrees, gathers the team, and activates the portal. Just before they escape, the dragon dives in, slams them back, and enters the portal itself. At first, Derek thinks that might be a blessing. Luna immediately shuts that down. This is the worst possible outcome. Now, some low-rank party will be slaughtered by the dragon. She insists they return to the guild and force teleport everyone out of the dungeon. Oliver agrees, and they sprint toward the exit. As they run, Luna finally reveals the truth. Orhan had developed original spells, magic that amplified effects by 50 times. Philly is stunned. Even Selma could only manage a 10-fold increase. Luna confirms it. Without Orhan, they were never truly strong. They were only strong because of him. Oliver refuses to accept it. He swears that he'll kill the dragon without Orhan's help. The party races toward the guild, praying the dragon hasn't claimed any lives yet. Back on the 50th floor, Orhan tells his party that once they reach the 51st floor, their objective will be complete and they can return for the day using the teleportation crystal. Everyone agrees without hesitation. Still, a sharp sense of unease settles in Orhan's chest. He scans the area, searching for anything out of place, but finds nothing. When he looks up, he notices thick clouds blotting out the sun, casting the floor in an eerie gloom. He cannot explain why this feeling will not go away. Everything should be going according to plan. The floor boss is all that remains, and defeating it should be simple for the guides. After that, they can head home with the expedition marked as a complete success. And yet, every instinct in Orhan is screaming that something is wrong, that they should leave immediately. Carol breaks his train of thought, eagerly asking what kind of monsters they can expect next. Seeing her excitement, Orhan reminds her that her role as a tank is to protect her teammates. She cannot rush ahead trying to handle everything on her own. Carol disagrees, arguing that if she defeats the enemies herself, she is making things safer for everyone else. In her mind, a tank belongs on the front line, and that is exactly where she intends to stay. She presses Orhan for more advice on how to fight even better. Orhan sighs and tells her that strength alone is not enough. She needs to learn how to fight as part of a team instead of trying to carry every battle herself. The sooner she understands that teamwork is essential, the better prepared she will be for the future, especially when progress depends entirely on trusting allies. Carol grimaces, muttering that it sounds boring. Logan jumps in, telling her to listen and appreciate the advice, saying that even the legendary adventurer Albert believed teamwork was everything. Orhan turns to Logan and asks if he is talking about Albert of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. Logan perks up, surprised. Orhan explains that nearly everyone knows Albert, the undisputed strongest member of the Night Sky Rabbits, who was believed to have died fighting the Black Dragon on the 92nd floor the year before. Logan adds that even in death, Albert became a legend who would never be forgotten. Carol's expression darkens as she quietly says that Albert died protecting one of his comrades, even though that responsibility belonged to the tank. She explains that he knew his death would devastate his family, yet he still chose to act. Because of that, she believes the best way to protect others is to keep them as far from danger as possible. If she fights alone on the front line while her team stays back, they can escape if things go wrong. Orhan notices the pain behind her words and decides not to push further. Instead, he lightens the mood by telling Carol that he is counting on her today. Her face brightens instantly as she confidently tells him to leave it to her. Sophia quickly shifts the focus, asking Orhan what she lacks as a mage and how she can improve as a teammate. Logan follows, saying he wants advice too. Orhan tells them to calm down as they move into the 36th floor, where the rookies begin warming up. Selma calls out to Orhan, reminding him that this is their final day and the most difficult one so far. She stresses that they must ensure nothing goes wrong. She then remarks that the rookies seem to have grown attached to him. Orhan admits that after the newspaper article, he assumed he had lost all of their respect. Instead, he realizes that they are far more perceptive and independent than he expected. Selma agrees, saying the group may be difficult at times, but they have a bright future ahead. She then mentions that Albert's death was a devastating blow to the clan. After losing him, the Night Sky Rabbits fell behind, allowing Orhan's former party to take the lead. Orhan replies that the Black Dragon was incredibly dangerous for his party as well, and they nearly lost someone during that battle, which would have crippled them. Selma admits that the hole Albert left behind has never truly been filled. She then asks Orhan directly if he would consider joining their party. Orhan says he is honored, but explains that a party does not need two enchanters, especially when one of them is the strongest mage on the continent. Selma blushes and clarifies that she is not asking him to join as an enchanter, but as a swordsman. The offer catches Orhan off guard. Selma tells him she will be watching closely today to see what he can do as a swordsman. Soon after, everyone splits into their assigned groups, leaving Orhan with the 3 rookies he is supervising. Carol asks why they are splitting up, saying she does not like the idea of getting lost in the cave system. Orhan explains that this is an important exercise, since parties often need to split up to search multiple paths at once to find the boss room. Large clans like the Night Sky Rabbits have a clear advantage because they can explore entire cave systems quickly. Logan remarks that Orhan has reached deeper floors than anyone else alive, so they should not face trouble here. The rookies begin asking what the deepest floors are like and what kinds of monsters live there. Orhan explains that the deep floors begin around the 72nd level, where the environment shifts into frozen mountains with constant blizzards and ice-based monsters that prey on the careless. He quickly tells them to focus, not wanting to unsettle them before the task ahead. As they move deeper, the caves feel unnervingly empty. Logan points out that they have not encountered a single monster yet and asks if the 40th floor is usually this quiet. Orhan shakes his head as the uneasy feeling in his stomach grows stronger. Carol loudly complains that she wants to fight something already, and almost on cue, a blue goblin steps out from behind a rock. Excited Carol rushes forward without hesitation. Orhan calls out to stop her, but she is already too far ahead. He quickly casts an agility-reducing debuff on the goblin, allowing Carol to defeat it in a single strike. She celebrates, but Orhan warns her not to charge in without thinking. Blue goblins are fast and powerful, and her recklessness could have put the entire party at risk. Carol admits her mistake. Orhan uses the moment to teach her active defense, explaining that she should watch enemy movements and strike just before they attack. This shuts down the enemy's offense completely and gives her teammates a major advantage. Carol listens closely, impressed. Logan then steps forward, asking for guidance as well. Before Orhan can respond, Logan activates a trap spell as two wolf monsters rush them from behind. Spikes burst from the ground and impale the wolves instantly. Orhan explains that trap magic is essential for battlefield control, allowing the party to focus forward without worrying about surprise attacks. Logan absorbs every word, thinking that he wants to become a mage like Orhan. Orhan then turns to Sophia and tells her to begin practicing using two spells at once. She says it sounds difficult, but Orhan assures her that it only takes practice. He explains that advanced casters can handle multiple spells at the same time. Sophia asks why she should not focus on using stronger magic instead. Orhan explains that powerful spells require preparation time, leaving the caster vulnerable. By layering spells, she can minimize downtime and keep constant pressure on the enemy. Eventually, they reach the boss room. The guides regroup and tell the rookies to stay back and observe. Orhan enters with the others and tells them to focus on attacking while he provides support. The battle begins and Orhan immediately moves, slashing the boss's legs just as it prepares to attack and forcing it to stumble. He quickly places a trap behind it, creating a barrier that blocks any escape. Selma follows up with multiple spells at once, forming several magic circles simultaneously. The tank blocks the boss's counterattack, and another swordsman finishes it with a decisive strike. The rookies watch in awe as the fight ends in moments. Logan is stunned by the precision and coordination, realizing that not a single movement was wasted. The expedition pushes forward, clearing floor after floor until they reach the 50th floor's boss room. The final boss is a massive crab with an almost indestructible shell. Selma tells Orhan that if he can sever one of its claws, the rest will be easy. Orhan draws his sword and steps forward, unfazed by the warning about the creature's hardened shell. He leaps into the air and strikes the crab's joint, slicing cleanly through its massive claw. With the main threat removed, Selma and the others defeat the monster with ease. The group celebrates as the expedition finally reaches its conclusion and they prepare to return. Then Orhan is hit by an overwhelming wave of dread. The air begins to crackle, and reality itself fractures as a rift opens before them. From it, the black dragon emerges, flying straight toward the group. And that is where this episode ends. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.